You have just returned from a short ride and a little tour on your motorcycle. The weather was nice, it didn't rain, and the motorcycle isn't too dirty, but you do have a little bit of dirt here and there, and you want to do something good for the motorcycle by quickly, easily, and above all, safely removing the worst of the dirt. And today I would like to introduce you to a product that is specifically designed for this purpose, namely the Dr.WACK S Quick Cleaner. Let's take a quick look together at what Dr. WACK promises here and how it should be applied. Quick, clean, without water. I believe that is the main promise here, that this is a dry wash. Cleaning and care in one step is exactly what is expected here and what is promised, even for dried insect residues. I find that quite interesting because insect residues can be quite stubborn, but we will see that later in the application instructions. If we want to loosen insect residues, especially when they are dried, we need to apply it a bit differently. Color refresh effect, care components, preserve the surface and create protection against weather influences. Shake the bottle well, spray the product onto the dirty surface and let it sit for about 1 minute. For insects, up to 5 minutes. I believe that is the only difference. If you have stronger dirt, then it's better to let it sit a little longer as long as it doesn't dry. That means this is not a rule set in stone. You shouldn't strictly adhere to those 5 minutes. If it is very, very warm outside, then after letting it sit, wipe it with the cloth and then wipe any remaining residue until there are no streaks left, and then we are done. Do not let it dry. This is generally always good and important in car care. Do not apply in the sun, not on heated surfaces, and it is also important to avoid areas such as seat benches, tires, and the brake area due to the risk of slipping. I believe that now we know everything we need to know and can start with the application. At this point, some of you, especially if you are a bit more experienced in car care, might be wondering, well, hold on. This basically sounds like a classic quick detailer with sealing components, or it also sounds like one or another waterless wash product or rinseless product. And I have to say, yes, of course, probably. And with the highest likelihood, one could use all these products from the car care sector here on motorcycles as well. I would probably try it myself. Only here do we have a product that is explicitly designed and made for this purpose, which is specifically advertised for motorcycles. And when a manufacturer like Dr. WACK, who comes from Germany and invests a lot of time in the development and testing of his products, provides something like this, let's just say that there is certainly nothing against us getting it, especially since it doesn't cost a fortune. This 500 ml bottle here costs $15 and the cloth costs $10. And at least for the cloth, I have to say, yes, $10 for a microfiber cloth is not really cheap. There are also other cloths available. And I haven't noticed anything about this cloth that makes it special than many other microfiber cloths. Neither from the fiber nor from the structure or anything else. That doesn't mean that this is a bad cloth, far from it. Because one must say that there are other manufacturers who use inferior, cheaper microfiber cloths. But this one is really, really good. It just works at a low cost. No? And that's why I would say, if you really want to save money, if you are penny pinchers, then I would rather say, get yourself another microfiber. But here with the product, I would say we can try something different. However, if a manufacturer assures us that we have a product that is specifically designed for this purpose, then I would personally say, let's just give it a try. And that's exactly what we will do now, here on this motorcycle. The KTM 99 Duke is, after all, the nearly perfect example. Why? Because we have a nice mix of materials here. We have painted surfaces, we have wrapped surfaces, we have matte painted surfaces, and we also have a matte metal here. And Dr. WACK says that you can use the Dr. WACK S Quick Cleaner on all of these surfaces, or they at least do not exclude any of these surfaces. And that's why we will just try it now. According to the instructions, make sure to turn on the spray nozzle first. This always helps. Spray onto the surface you want to treat. My tip is, especially when it's warm outside, not to spray too many surfaces at once. We will now treat all these surfaces in one go. Let it sit for a short time and then we can start here. To remove the residues, and above all, to additionally support the cleaning, mechanically here with the microfiber cloth. And that works. Well, now here are just a few remaining spots. It's always like this. we spread the quick cleaner or wipe off the dirt with one side of the cloth. Then we turn the cloth over to a fresh side. 2001 will wipe over this again. And I can already tell you that this refreshing component comes into play, which you can feel because a certain smoothness of the paint is immediately noticeable. And this is always an indication that something is actually left on the paint, which then creates a certain protective effect. And that's it. So you see, it's absolutely not rocket science. Each of you can do it without any problems. And above all, you can still see that it is matte paint. It is still glossy. It just looks a bit more refreshed. So in terms of application, it's absolutely child's play and anyone can manage it. So now a concern that many owners of matte paint motorcycles or matte paint cars always have is, well, will I damage the matte paint by using such a product, especially when it comes to a color refresh? And I would say, let's just test it directly. We will now tape off this section here on the untreated side. We will not treat this area, and we will treat the upper side above it. I will now spray the quick cleaner onto the cloth and not directly onto the paint, so that we have a clear boundary here. So I will now treat everything around it with the quick cleaner and wipe it down. So that's it. As you can see, the application is really simple. Now we'll remove the tape and then we'll see a typical effect that many products create on matte paint, in my opinion. I'll grab the camera and show you this from different angles. A color refresh. We can see this very clearly. The paint appears darker, it looks richer, and yes, a very, very slight increase in gloss has occurred. But the important thing is that the matte paint is still matte. An increase in gloss simply means that it may change from matte to satin matte, but it is still a matte paint. And above all, I think that such treated matte paint looks just a bit stronger, it appears richer, and I honestly find it a more beautiful sight. And the most important thing now is the following. When you treat the entire area and not just a part of it, and if you distribute the whole thing, how should I put it, evenly and consistently across the entire surface, then you won't even notice this difference. Instead, you will simply find that we have a uniformly matte surface here. Here in front, we have a surface that serves as a perfect example for the promised color refresh effect. For a manufacturer can promise a lot when the day is long. Therefore, it is always important to check something like this briefly. Everyone can also easily try it out for themselves at home. I spray the quick cleaner onto the cloth again. I will now treat just this side here. You can also see a slight, very, very light layer of dust or dirt on this side, so generally here on the fender. And here we mainly have paint, gloss paint, and we have unpainted black plastic. And on both surfaces, we can now look at the cleaning performance present. And on both surfaces, we can also take a look at the color refresh, if it is indeed present. And here on the plastic, I must say, it's a striking effect. It's absolutely clear and also strong and beautiful in my opinion. It is still matte plastic, but richer and darker. And here on the paint, especially when it is such a gray paint, it is very, very difficult to see. And to be honest, I wouldn't necessarily talk about the increase in gloss or anything like that. It is simply cleaner, and above all, it is also smoother than the others. Yes, clearly. I believe you can even hear that. One moment. Yes, I believe you can even hear that it is a bit smoother. So color refreshment is always a topic on certain surfaces, and with some colors it is very noticeable, while with others, like gray, white, silver, light yellow, and so on, it becomes a bit more difficult. But the wonderful thing about the Dr. WACK S Quick Cleaner is that we can use it on all these surfaces, meaning plastics, whether painted or unpainted, 2001 films, whether matte or glossy. And metal surfaces, it works wonderfully and cleans effectively on all of them. Well, that is the main purpose of a quick cleaner. It's already in the name. It should clean quickly, easily, effortlessly, yet still safely. And I believe we see that here. It does this very, very well because everything works absolutely, problem-free and quickly. Of course, this cannot replace a proper thorough wash, and especially a chain cleaning is something I would do thoroughly and regularly. The quick cleaner does not replace that. But if it really is just about quickly removing the coarsest dirt from the motorcycle after a ride, then you can see that it works absolutely flawlessly. By the way, this KTM 990 Duke is not my own. It has been provided to us by MotoPro AG from Switzerland. Once again, many thanks to the team at MotoPro. I hope it's okay that this little advertising segment is still included in the video. If a motorcycle dealer is already supporting us and providing these motorcycles for free for these videos for you, then I think it's also fine to mention them briefly. What I actually wanted to address is the following. We have said that the S Quick Wax should not be applied to certain surface parts, especially and primarily the seat, due to the risk of slipping. And now one might wonder if there is no way to quickly and easily clean the seat in between. Yes, there is. For this purpose, Dr. WACK has provided us with the S100 seat care, and its application is exactly the same. That means we spray this onto the seat, work it in with a cloth, wipe it down again, and we're done. And this here is a product that is also, as it says here, non-slip. So from that perspective, you still have the option. If you want to do something additional for the seat, you can also get this at motor and exhaust parts. You can treat and clean them with the S Quick Cleaner, but it is already mentioned on the bottle in the application instructions. Please make sure not to apply it on hot surfaces. This applies generally to all products that you use in car or motorcycle care. Please never use it on hot surfaces, as this exposes the chemistry to conditions for which it is simply not made and intended, and where it will also perform poorly. Also important, please do not apply on seats, do not apply on footrests, do not apply on the gear mechanism. So everywhere where there would be a risk of slipping, and therefore also not on the tires. You are welcome to use the S Quick Cleaner everywhere else. And we really don't need to make a rocket science out of this. It is a quick cleaner, and as a quick cleaner, it works fantastically. Here in the license plate and turn signal holder, we now have a few stronger dirt accumulations. I mean, overall, one still has to say that this is still something I would consider light in the world of dirt, but it is a bit stronger than at the front of the motorcycle. Now let's see if the S Quick Cleaner can also remove and clean this well. Of course, with the microfiber cloth, you have to check if you can get in here. Yes, that works very well. And then we see that he has succeeded. We also wipe here again with a fresh side of the cloth and notice that it is clean and refreshed. Now, the S Quick Cleaner is also said to have a certain protective function that is supposed to reduce the readhesion of dirt or resoiling somewhat. And you can always check this by looking to see if there is visible hydrophobia on the surface. But before we do that, I have to say, I saw something from this angle. I'll try to capture it on camera as best as I can. Look there indeed. Take a look. There is the boundary. Left treated, right untreated. So indeed you can even see a slight color refresh on a gray paint. Ha, very good. Then we managed to capture it, after all. So you see, it works. But now the question is, have we achieved hydrophobization of the surface here? And we will take a look at that with a spray bottle. Use and. You really have to, and to be honest, it's not that bad at all. And above all, you can see a noticeable difference. Look how a puddle of water is forming here on the side. This is happening on both the plastic and the paint. And here on the surface, the water beads off wonderfully. And that is exactly what an S Quick Cleaner is supposed to achieve. So from that perspective, the promises are kept. But now we have to keep the church in the village a bit. You have seen the S Quick Cleaner works absolutely well for what it is intended for. It performs very well. But I will say it again, it will not replace a proper cleaning of the motorcycle. This means that if I have heavy dirt on it after a long tour and you have just let it sit for longer, then it is clearly better to use the Total Cleaner from S by Dr. WACK. Use the car shampoo with a pressure washer. Of course, always be careful with the pressure washer on the motorcycle, but it will not replace a proper complete cleaning or wash. And it must be said, if you want even more beading behavior, if you want even more protection for your painted surfaces or for the plastics, then Dr. Wack has other products in the range, such as the Quick Wax for glossy surfaces, whether painted or wrapped, or the Matte Wax here for the matte painted or matte foiled surfaces. So from that perspective, you have seen what the Quick Wax can do. I have told you what it cannot do, or where I would no longer use it, and where I would switch to other products. Basically, as I said, this is not rocket science, and we don't need to make it one. It is an S quick cleaner, it is a quick detailer, it is a dry wash, and it works as such. From my perspective, it works very, very simply and very, very smoothly. I didn't have any problems with streaks at any point while using the S quick cleaner to remove the light dirt I wanted to get rid of. I was able to remove it successfully. From that perspective, the product does what it is supposed to do, and most importantly for me personally, it does exactly what the manufacturer promises us. If you found the video helpful, informative, exciting, and interesting, please give us a thumbs up. Feel free to support the channel with a free subscription and tune in for the next video. See you.